figure, we discussed about working with routing, and while working with routing, I showed you a simple concept of server-side routing with API using JSON server. Later, we can create our own API. I will show you how to create our own API using Node.js and MongoDB in the database as backend. So server-side routing with API. One example I showed you how to create the routes. So what we learned is how to set up server and how to configure data, and we can handle manipulation on the data. As I showed you that it will provide built-in routes for interacting with the data. Built-in routes are provided so that you can interact with the data. For example, you see so we are using yesterday we created this one. We created routes, and we need to test the routes. Already route paths already I explained yesterday how the route paths are generated. So what are the methods provided? Get for fetching, post for submitting, put for modifying, and delete for deleting. Usually you can test all these methods, all the server side methods you can test. And how to test the methods, the routes already I showed you. So let's start this API. So this is JSON server. It is in public now. JSON server and db.json watch on port number some 5050, some port number. And this is the command we need to define. So we are configuring this command. Right. So this command starts the JSON server on this particular port number. So it is starting. Now, how to test the endpoints? I already showed you the routes yesterday. For example, what are the routes default available /users? It will get all users. Post also have users. Put have users /id. And delete also have users /id. Based on ID, it can delete. Based on ID, it can update. Put is for updating, delete is for removing, right? You can test them. How do we test? Usually APIs can be tested by using API debugging tools. As I told you, Fiddler, Postman, so many are there. You can install Postman. Postman is an API debugging tool. In this Postman, you can test the requests. Actually, now our local JSON API is running on 5050 port number. Here, how do you handle the requests? So you can manage the request like this. What you have to do in this Postman, click in new request, this plus button, and here you make the request. The request is get request, and what is the route path? http:// you can use local host and port number 5050 / what users. This is going to get all the users, and I send, it is going to return the users and display. And you can see the users data come. And these two users are there, user ID 1, user ID 2. Two users related data is coming. Now, if you want to test the post, inserting, updating, deleting, you can select post method, post to which URL, users. What you can do is here you can post the data. Actually, data, how we have to post is you can post the data by using the raw method. You can select the body. In the body, we have a raw method. You can select raw. Later, it will come from form. That means our user interface will have a form. From the form, we will get it. Raw, which format? Suppose I selected JSON format. And how to write JSON object? The JSON object, what is it? One is what? ID. ID is 3. After that, what? We need to define, every user have some details. No? What are the details for user? In our JSON file, every user have ID, user ID, password and email. So I am using ID, user ID, some SAM, some ID I given. Password is some sam@11 and some email. Email is like some sam@gmail.com. This is the data we want to post. And you selected the post and you defined the method and you send the data. And when I send the data, actually the data is posted here. And you can see here that is added. That means in our database file, that new data is added. That means automatically the data is updated into this location. So we are adding the data. We can test all methods. So by using this Postman, it provides all methods: get method, post, put, and delete. What is the purpose of put? Put is for updating. Suppose I selected put, the URL is users/ which user, third, and what is the data you want to modify. I want to modify the name as Samson, something like this. That means we need to modify the data. And what is the data we need to modify? We need to define here. That means here I want to modify the data Samson. And I want to modify sam123@gmail.com. This is on which request? Put. And that is for updating the data. Updating. Actually, this updating requires, so based on ID, we need to update. That means what is the method? It is saying like not found. Why it is not found? So because the ID is 3, but whatever the query we pass usually will be what? String type. We have to convert into number and verify as number. Then you need parsing methods and all to do that. So these all you can manage by using the front end routes, and you can create a complete interaction and use. How this entire API works, you don't need to try this. Just I explained you about routes. What you have to do, create one JSON server, add some data, and check the basic routes, how it is going to handle. Our main concept is now to integrate this with the front end and make all these CRUD operations work. That means insert, update, delete, everything work. For that, what we need to do now, we need to configure, we need to understand client side route. We need to learn about the client side routing. Yesterday we saw about server side routes, how to handle the routes server side using APIs, how they manage the routes. We discussed about that. Now we will see how do we manage the client side routes. So client side routing, every technology can implement this routing using a special library. Angular, React, everywhere these client side routes are possible. In React.js, routing is managed by a separate library. That means React inbuilt don't have any routing options. React uses a external routing library. It uses an external routing library. So React uses React Router DOM, React Router DOM library for configuring client-side routes. For configuring client-side routes, it uses React Router DOM library. So React directly inbuilt don't have a routing library. The routing library is actually provided by React Router DOM. It is going to provide the React library, and it is separately built. Its version and our React versions are not same. So that is the reason, as a React developer, you should know which version of router your company is using, because this router library is changing, and the same library is not used everywhere. We should know which library your company is using. And actually, it is a separate library. You see, the React Router DOM have a separate website also. React Router DOM. React Router DOM is a separate library. This is the React Router separate library. This is the React Router library. So this is the React Router library. So actually, Router DOM library, yeah, this is the Router DOM library. The official website, we will get into that. The version here it is showing 6, but latest version is there. Yeah. reactrouter.com. Okay. This is the official website. Let's go to the documents here. And in the documents, you can see, so this is the router and current latest version is 7.3. That is the latest version of router. But actually, companies are still using the 6 version and 5 versions. In many projects, you will see companies are still using router 5. Actually, they haven't updated to even 6. Now the latest version of router is 7. In companies, 3 versions are very popularly used. Version 5, 6 and 7. Majority all existing React projects are still using 5. And actually this 5 version, after this 5 version, this 6 and 7 versions, these are completely different from 5. They are reconstructed. Generally, what we expect if a new version is released, we expect that 1-2 new options may be added. But in 6 and 7 version, they reconstructed the library. That means they redesigned the library. So what is the problem with redesigning is everything changed. That means anybody who knows React already 3-4 years back, he worked on old versions on React. For him, now router is completely different. That means what he know in his old versions, he can't implement now. Why? Because complete strategy changed, complete library changed, several new approaches are added into this. So total change. That is the reason you should exactly know which version of router your projects are using. And based on that, you have to implement, right? So the current latest version is 7. It is very latest. So many new features are added into this. And when compared to the previous versions, they are completely changed. React 18 and 19 uses these versions 6 and 7. React older versions uses 5. 4 is not in use, majority 5 is in use. So what are the versions popular among developers is, so router dome library is not a native library of React, is not a native library of React, is not a native library of React, is not a native library of React. So the popular router dome versions, the popular router dome versions. So one is version 5. This is up to React 17. Version 6. This is so React 18. And version 7. This is for React 19. This is for both 18 and 19. So for React 18 and 19, these are the versions here. And what is the new thing you should know is version 6 and version 7. are complete rewrite of router DOM, or complete rewrite of router DOM. That means they are complete rewritten from the router DOM. That means they are reconstructed again with all new approaches and new features. So it is not improved from old version. It is completely recreated from the old versions. So how to set up this library, how to use the library, how router works, we will see that. Because already I explained you the flow of React application. You remember the mount, unmount. I explained the flow. Where I explained the flow of this. While learning about React high level, right? This I explained already. This I already explained when we discussed about the mount phase. I explained this. So you remembered the flow, what I showed you here. You remembered this flow. Already I explained the process. So when you create a React application, what are the requests a React application can handle? That is defined where? When you create a React application, what requests your application can handle? That is defined by using I explained this to you already. What a React application can handle as requests, that is defined by using the router table. You have a route table. Route table contains information about what are the requests the application can handle. That means what paths it can manage, what components it can deliver to client. That is configured using a router table. And who is responsible for communicating with the router table? A routing engine. You will have a routing engine which is responsible for communicating with it. So when client makes a request from the browser, the request will come to the server. Server uses a handler. It verifies the request and it will pass the request to the routing engine. Routing engine will verify whether the requested path is available in the route table. If it is available in the route table, then it will load the component and it will send it as a response to the client. This high level basic reference I already explained. So all these days we have a React application, but we don't have a route table. That is the reason what we are doing every day. When we design different components, every day we are going to index. There we are changing the startup component. But if you have a proper routing table, then from URL, you can just request which one you want. Automatically it will get you. It will show you. That means in index, there will be only one startup, but you can manage all of them. You can access all of them. How it is possible? By using this router table. So what we need to learn, how to create this table. And if you can create the table, routing is ready. Now client can make a request. You can send a response through your application. So how we handle this routes? Let's see how the combination actually works. This flow and diagram already I shared with you. I already explained you this complete information. So what we need to do is we need to understand how this router works. So first point is install React Router DOM library for project. By default, React don't have a router library, you have to install. Remember, before a React new version comes, router version may change. So you need to separately monitor router. That means as a developer, you need to keep in touch of React router website. Why? Because they don't change their version along with React version. React version different, router version is different. That means they develop the router versions separately, independently from React. In that case, before the React new version comes, so many new versions of router may come. So you need to keep in touch of router. Is it changing regularly or not? Okay. How do we install npm install React router DOM and save? After installing this React router DOM, what this React router DOM provides is, so router DOM live, actually remember, if you want to install any old version, because generally the React router DOM, the old version is 6.30 and more older is 5. Suppose if your company is using 6 and you want to use the 6 version, you need to set up and install that. Any library, actually, any library, not only this, any library when you are installing through npm, it may be Bootstrap or Formic or any library. If you want to install specific version, generally when you just run install, it will get whatever latest is there. If you don't want the latest, you want the older version, then always npm install React router DOM @ you can give the version number 6.30.0 and save. Any library older version you want means, or any specific version you want means, you have to write @ and generally people have an habit of using, so npm install React router DOM @ latest, but actually not required, because when you just install, by default what it will get the latest. But if any specific version you want, then you can mention the version number. You have to mention the version number correctly. You need to visit their official site and check the correct number, because if a small mismatch in the numbers, minor versions releases also, it will not install. You can set up the old versions, right? So this is old versions. This is old version. So how you set up the old version? Once you install React router DOM library, so router DOM provides following components. It will provide following components. We have a browser router. We have routes. We have a route. We have an outlet and we have a link. These are the major components that are used for routing. Browser router, routes, route, outlet and link. These are the built-in components of React Router DOM. These are the built-in components. So what is browser router and route outlet link? Let's see. These are the main components actually. Now, what is the purpose of this? We will understand. Actually, we are having a browser. This is the browser actual DOM. And we learned that browser uses an React uses an virtual DOM. So you know in JavaScript, in actual DOM, who manages navigation from one page to another, from one location to another within the page, or from one page to another? In actual DOM, navigation from one page to another is managed by location object. It is managed by location object. JavaScript have 5 browser objects. Na? What are those? Window, location, navigator, history, document. JavaScript have 5 browser objects: window, location, navigator, history, and document. So location object provides properties and methods by using that navigation is managed. Suppose anybody asked you a question like, in JavaScript, on button click, how to navigate to any page? Not on link click, on a button click, how to navigate to any page? Generally in JavaScript, what you do? Location dot what? href. By using location href, you can navigate. In JavaScript, how you navigate to any location in the same page? You can navigate to any location in the same page by using location hash. Location have an hash. By using that, you can navigate to any location in the same page. Generally, in actual DOM, navigation from one page to another, navigation within the page is managed by an object called location. By using location object, you can navigate. But in virtual DOM, you cannot use this object. So what React uses? React uses a browser router. React uses a browser router in which location? Virtual DOM. That means this browser router, in virtual DOM, you have a browser router. Browser router is in virtual DOM. This browser router will translate the navigation to location. That means in React, we use browser router for virtual DOM navigation. But this virtual DOM navigation is not understandable to browser. It needs to be translated into location of actual DOM. That is done by which component? Browser router. So this is the major one in your routing. If you miss this, routing will not work. And make sure that all the routing is inside this browser router. Anything outside the browser router cannot be translated to actual DOM. So all the routing related anything, any routing related navigation and all, it should be inside the scope of which component? It should be inside the scope of browser router. It is responsible for translating into the actual DOM. So make sure that complete routing is inside this area, inside the scope of browser router. That is the first component actually. So here I give few points here. Browser router is responsible for configuring virtual DOM routes, and translate into actual DOM. So React routing for SPA, single page environment application, must be within the scope of browser router. So syntactically it will be browser router and all your route configurations. Browser. All the route configurations inside the browser router. Make sure that everything is inside this. Right. Remember, this routing is a very big concept. Lot of points are involved in it. It will take us at least 4-5 sessions to finish it. That means it will take us 4-5 sessions to learn and completely know about routing. It's a very huge concept and it is the primary thing in single page applications. So we are learning level by level how to handle the route. So there are so many points to understand about routes. You will learn one by one, right? So first thing, you need a browser router and make sure that all the routing is inside this browser router, right? Next, we have routes. This routes is going to design the route table for you. It creates the route table. What is router table? Router table contains collection of routes. That means what routes it can handle, all the collection is kept inside the routes. That means it is responsible for creating a router table. And just now you saw a router table. What you saw about router table? Just now you saw the router table. Actually, router table is a collection of routes. Am I right? It is a collection of routes. It is a table. So it is a collection of routes. It contains a path and the component it has to deliver. That means it is a table with rows and column combination. That means it's a collection. So remember, this is called one route. This is called another route. Multiple routes. So what is the purpose of these routes? So next point, routes is a collection of individual routes. It's a collection of individual routes defined for application. It configures a router table. 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 Router table usually contains collection of routes. So syntactically now, first at the top, you will have a browser router. In the browser router, you will have what? Routes. Here, all routes are configured here. And close the browser router. This is the second level how you define. That means you have a browser router, and in the browser router, you will have collection of routes. Now, how to define every route? That means which request, which component should be delivered. That is managed by route. Route is used to configure individual routes. Every individual route is defined by using route component. So, what is the request? And on that request, what to deliver? Everything is decided by using what? Route. So, now inside the collection of routes, you will have individual routes. One route for home, one route for login, one route for register, like that. So how do you define them? By using route. Route component is responsible for configuring individual route. So a route defines the request type and the request path actually, and component to render. The request path and component to render. What is the request path and what is the component to render? It is defined by using route. So every route is configured by using this. So as I showed you in the diagram, in the route table, this is one route. What is the route path? Route path is home. When anybody requests home, which component to render? Home component to render. This is defined using the route. So what we do syntactically, we have a browser router. Inside it routes. Inside routes, we have a route. Route have a path and a route have an element. Like this, you can configure the route. This is another route. We have a path and we have an element. Which element to deliver, what to deliver, we can define. Routes and browser router. That is the basic design. Remember, every route can have child routes, nested routes, child routes, so much. So those all you will see next level. First, to create the basic routes, we will see the example. After that, we will learn about nested. We will learn about child routes, how to secure the routes, everything we will see, right? Initially, this is the basic design of route. Okay, now how anybody can request this path? How anybody can request the path? There are two ways. You can ask the user to directly type what he want in address bar, or usually you will put a link. When user clicks the link, he will navigate to that location. You saw Amazon. Actually, Amazon is an official React application. Amazon is completely built in React. It is completely designed in React.js. Now here, suppose I want mobiles. I can click on this mobiles link. When I click on the link, it will get me mobiles. Or directly in the URL, I can make a request like /mobiles. Then it will get me the mobiles directly. It will get me the mobiles. That means I can click on this link, or I can request from here. The mobiles I can access directly from here. When I requested, automatically it given me all the mobile related data. So now the point is, this route path we can directly request from URL. No, you want to provide a clickable link so that they can access. You cannot use Anchor. You cannot use Anchor. Generally, Anchor is used for navigation in the web application. You cannot use an Anchor. The Anchor is for actual DOM routes. Virtual DOM routes are managed by another element called link. This link is responsible for configuring a hyperlink which will navigate to any route. This is not anchor element. And remember, as I already told you, your link is different. This link you usually use for linking CSS files or linking favorite icons. This link is a router link. It is responsible for creating navigation. That means it is equal to which element? It is equal to anchor. But you don't use anchor here. You have to use what? Link. The virtual links are created by using that element. So what is the next one is link is a component used to configure a hyperlink that navigates user to specified route path. Syntactically, we have to write like this: link to where some home, like this we write. Then this is home link. That's how generally we create the links. You don't have any href here, and you don't have any anchor element here. It is designed by using link. Link to home. What is this home? The home is the path you mentioned in the route. Actually, it is route path name. Link to, you have to define the route path name. You can define a route path name like this. You can have text, you can have image, anything you can have. You have to define the route path name there. You can put any text or image for clickable. So navigation is managed by using this link. So we create navigation by using the link. Okay. So how to configure the routes and how to navigate to the route? There is another option. Actually, suppose we are having a screen. Here we are having home and some login like this we are having. On my screen, I have different sections. I have different sections. Now in one place I am showing some I'm showing some cards or articles or something. Now when I click login, when you are using child routes and all, when I click login, I want these cards to be there only. I want this login to come here. Generally what happens is when you click login, it will remove all this and gets only login. When I click home, it will remove the existing and gets the home. So what we want to do, without disturbing the existing, whatever user selects, that we want to render along with existing. And along with existing, where to render? So this place I want to render. This is considered as, you can call it as outlet. That is called as outlet. Outlet indicates that when users clicks a link, where to show the result. Usually result will show in the page only, but in the page you are using a single page application. Single page application means what? Single page application means what? Everything is present on the same page. Then in that page, where to show your new content, that you can decide. You can put a different location for rendering the content. For example, in your Amazon, in shopping website, you click add to cart. Automatically at the right side corner, you will see that your cart is having 2 items, 3 items. That means where it is rendering that information somewhere inside the page. Where to render the information when user selects that information, where to show, that is decided by using what? Outlet. Generally, when outlet is not given, what will happen? It will remove the existing and it will keep the new. I want to keep the existing and get the new along with existing. Then we have to tell where. That is decided by using what? Outlet. Outlet is required, especially when you are designing child routes, route inside route. Then we have to use what? Outlets. So this is another important one. One more component is let. Outlet is a component that defines the location in page where the resulting markup must render. It's mostly in nested and child routes. It is mostly used in nested and child routes. While working with nested and child routes, we have to use it. So just actually it uses a simple syntax like you have a main area. In this main area, you have an outlet. So you can have multiple outlets and all. Later when you learn, I will give you more information about that. So as I told you, routing is a very, very big concept with a lot of options involved. So if any doubts are coming related to routes, keep all doubts with you only until I finish the topic. Because by the time I finish the topic, you will not have those doubts anymore. Right? Why? Because usually when you are in the middle of the concept, lot of futuristic doubts will come, which we are going to learn. So we know what doubts will come to developer while learning routes. We will level by level explore them. So no hurry. Step by step, you understand the concept. By the final you reach, you finish the route, you will know everything. Everything that is required for a real world design, right? So because everything you can't learn in first attempt, level by level you have to explore. So many concepts are there, so many techniques are there, you need to know them. Let's implement the basic route first. So what is the main aim is, all these days what we are doing, every day designing some new and keeping that in the startup. Now it's not like that. Our project will start with one component. We will stay there, and from there we will able to access all other components. Let's see how to design this. First, in our project, what we have to do, let me stop this JSON server. As of now, we don't need this. Now, what we do here is, let me close all this. Now we will start here. First, we will decide only one component as startup. That means already when you created a project, you can use any component. It doesn't matter. When you created a component, there is a component called app. That means whenever you created a project, by default, every project comes with which component? App. That means now what we will do is we will use this component as startup. We will use this as startup. That means application will start with app. User will stay on the app. He can access everything from the app. Everything he can access from there. Let's see how to do that. First, we will go to index and we will tell in the index that application will start with which component? App. App is the startup component and I will not change this anymore. But I will able to access everything from this app. How to access everything from the app? Let's go to app. Here we need to design the routes. How to create the routes? First, you need to set up the routes. You need to install npm install React Router DOM. That is the library you need to set up. Save. I am installing React Router DOM library. How do we know which version of router is installed? You can go to package.json, and you can check. In package.json, React Router DOM 7 is there. React Router DOM 7 version is there. So this is the location where you find which version of library you are using. Okay. Now let's go to which file? App, that is the startup. Let's go to app. App using a simple function, and by default it is starting. What we have to do here, we need to design the complete routing. And to design complete routing, what are the components you need now? First, import the components. What are the components you need? One, we need a browser router. Another one, we need what? Routes. Another one, route. Another one, link. Outlet is not required now. That is when child routes are created, we need them. Even link is also not required until or unless you put some clickable things. Okay. Okay. Now the parent, what is the main scope? The main scope is what? Browser router. Make sure that all the routing related concept is defined inside this browser router. You have to define inside. Okay. Now I am creating a header area. In this header area, I am creating a simple div, and I will keep this as a shopper, some shopper template. And here I'm just adding a class as this is font size 4 and font weight as bold. After that, I will create a simple nav. In that span, I will keep home and another span. This is like men's fashion. So another span like women fashion. So span like kids fashion, something like this we are adding. Okay. Now, just what I will do here is all these class mx is 3. Okay. So class mx is 3. Margin x-axis means left and right we are adding. Okay. Next, this is the nav bar we are having. Okay, let's keep another div and class name. Class name I will give as suppose BI cart 4 something. Okay, this is the option. Actually, I will keep that in a span. Okay, cart 4 and another span. Class name BI person fill. Okay, so another span BI heart. And this is MX is 3. Okay, fine. This header have a class deflex justify content between padding 3. That's enough. And that is the design we are having. We will start this now. Still it is to be designed completely. NPM start. Just I created a startup. In the startup, we are defining a simple interface. Now this is the top. That means we just created a simple header here. We just created a simple header. In this header, we are having left, center, and right. So just what I will do here is, yeah, for this now class as deflex, just flex column, justify flex column will disturb all that. Align items center. That is fine. Vertically center also I am giving. Okay. Now the header is having a slight border and border is 2. So, and border secondary is fine. We just have a border there. That is MY2. That means margin Y2. Okay. MX also 2. So little this. This is the basic header I created here. Right? A small header I created. Now what should happen is whenever we request anything, the requested content should come in this area. Everything should come in this area. So what we will do? So this below the header, make sure that you are writing inside browser router only, right? So below the header, I will create a section. The class name margin top sum 4. Okay. Now this is the location where I want the result to come. Different requests user is making, those requests related results should come here. So you have to create the route table here. That means how to create the route table by using what? Routes. By using routes, we create the route table. Route table decides which request to handle, what response to generate. And remember, every response will be rendered in this area. Where you kept the routes, response will be rendered there. Suppose I keep the routes in header, it will render in header. We have to keep in the section, so that I have to render in the section. Okay. Now, what are the routes you are expecting? Remember, two options are there. You can render an existing markup which is already designed, or you can render only what you want directly. That means, see, what is the routes? We have a route. And what is the route path? First route path, I'm giving route path as home. When it is home, what element should come? Element, you need to define which component to render. Here, two choices are there. You design now what you want, or if you already designed, you can bring it. First, I will show you our dynamic design now. That means we will design what we want now. Later, we can bring the existing design also. That means we can design what we want. What we want, suppose here I will keep a div. In the div, I will keep a heading. And in the heading, I will say that, online shopping. Okay. After that, I will put a paragraph. In the paragraph, I will give that, suppose some 30% off on all fashion accessories. Something like this I define. This is just a basic element we are rendering, and make sure that all are enclosed in one fragment only. Am I right? You know JSX rules now. Everything should be inside one fragment. Okay. This is done. Now what is the next one? I am expecting route path. In the route path, what we have to do is when user requested like men, then what is the element it should render? What element it should render? It should render a container. In the container, I need a heading. In the heading, we have to say men's fashion. Men's fashion. You have any image? For example, I will copy some images into project. Suppose I am going to the public. In the public, some images are there. I will go into my images folder. Suppose we have like women fashion, men fashion, kids fashion, some pictures are there. I will copy them here. I have some women, men fashion JPG files are there. I'm copying them into public. Make sure that all are in which folder? Public. Okay, right. Now what I'm doing here is I will put an image also. Image SRC is which one? Image SRC is some men fashion dot what JPG. So width is equal to some width is some 100, 200. Height is also some 400 or 300, something like this. That is the route we are having. Similarly, I am creating the other routes. Okay. This is for women. And here I will say women's fashion. And this is for kids. And I will use kids fashion. And I will change the image. This is woman. And this is kids. I have different images I am giving. Okay. The routes are ready now. Observe carefully here. In the URL, now I am using a slash and I am requesting for men and hit enter. It should get the men fashion and show. That means it is accessing the data and display. I think default this alignment is center. I think it is having some CSS which is aligning center. I will keep the alignment to where? Left. It may have some CSS and I will give padding also some 30 pixel. That will be better for that. Okay. I think 10 pixel padding is okay. Okay, that is fine. And actually inside the body, you don't need all these actually. The inside the body also we can add some. I will go to this app. In the section we have padding 4. inside the section padding 4 I am adding, so it will get that and display. That's fine. Now observe carefully here. I am requesting women, then it has to get the woman fashion and show. I am requesting for kids, then it should get the kid fashion and show. That means you are accessing and you are rendering that content here. And remember, if I don't request anything, actually if I request home, home should come. If I don't request anything, it is empty. It should not be like that. If I don't request anything, by default home should come. By default home should come. Then how do we define the route? We call them as wildcard routes. Wildcard routes means if user is not requesting what to render, if user is requesting something which is not available with us, then what to render. That means user is requesting something which we don't have, then what to render. This we call them as wildcard routes. So here an important option is wildcard routes. Wildcard routes. So application sends the requested content as response. If a client request is not specific or invalid, then you can send a customized response using wildcard routes. So we define simply like this: path is equal to slash. It refers to component that will render. It refers to component that will render when user is not requesting any specific. So you can say default render. Path is equal to asterisk. It refers to component that renders when requested path not found. When requested path not found, what to render we decide by using asterisk. That's how we configure the wildcard routes. So the wildcard routes are defined in this way. So where to add this? Actually, traditionally make sure that this is the first route, this is the last route. All other routes you mention in between. That means this is the first and this is the last. You can keep anywhere, but traditionally that is the best place. Otherwise it will have some abnormal behavior in some browsers. So always keep the first route. That means if user is not requesting anything, then what we do in the routes, we will put a simple route, and in the route, what is the path? Path is slash. And what is the element? Element we will get the same home. right? We will keep the same home. So what we will do in the home, what you mentioned, same thing you keep there also. Later you will learn about reusing any content and all. Okay. That means now what we are doing, when user is not requesting any specific, home will come. And you can see I'm not requesting anything. If you are not requesting anything, by default, it cannot be empty. By default, it come with home. Okay. Now, if user is requesting something which is not there, then we have to define as what? Route. What is the route path? So route path is what? Asterisk. What is the element? Route element. What we have to do is put a div and put a heading, class as text danger, and say not found. Okay. And we will put a paragraph. We will put a class name as code. You know, HTML have a code element. So actually paragraph is not required. Directly we can write code. Okay. Directly you can write a code element. Class is a text warning or something. And here we will say that. So the requested path not found. The requested path not found. Just message we are giving. And you see, user is requesting some kids. Then the kids will come. User is requesting some mobiles. There is no mobiles. Then it will get us not found. That means the path that you are requesting not found. If user is not requesting anything, by default it will get the home. These are wildcard routes. And important is now we are directly rendering some element here. Not like that. Already if you have components, bring the components and show them. That means we have to create links. We have to create the links. For example, now when user clicks on this, men fashion should come. We need to make these clickable. How do we make them clickable? So to make them clickable, to make this clickable, this home should be enclosed. It should be enclosed in a link. It should be enclosed in a link, and it should link to which path? Link to which path? Home. That means you have to give the same path name. It should link to home, right? Okay. Now what should this one happen? That means it should again, it should use a link. This should link to what? Men. This should have a link. Again link. Okay. This should link to what? Women. And this should link to, so it should link to kids. That is actually kids fashion. That means you are configuring links now. And you see at the top, I click on the link, it will get me the men fashion, women fashion, kids fashion. I can access what I want and I can display them here. And what is the specialty here? When I am requesting anything, you will see it is not reloading the page. Without refreshing the page, none new details are added into the page. So it uses all AJAX calls here. I can access everything. User can request from the URL or he can use. Remember, these appearances your wish, because you already know how to make a link appear in a different way. Suppose I will use a class BTN. If I use BTN class, it looks like a button, right? So I can change this appearance. Your wish, you can add anything, BTN, some primary, then it will get the primary. You can keep it like a link, keep like a button, anything you can do, right? Actually, suppose the class button primary I'm using for this. Okay. For all of them, I'm using the same. Then all will have the same buttons, right? And I click on them. I have to get that and display. Actually, this is can be kept in class button BTN group. Button group means it will make those buttons like a group. That means actually you have in span. Better we put BG primary. Okay. And all will look like single. We just added some basic navigation here. That means you see women fashion, men fashion, home, and observe carefully, not just rendering the element, you can render existing component. For example, what should happen when I click here? A login screen should come. Already you remembered we designed a login screen. A login screen should come. So what you do is you create a path now. You create a path. Here we will create a path. What is that route? What is the route path name? Route path name is what? Login. What is the element it should render? It should render login element. You have a login now? In components mount demo or somewhere we are having login. I will use that login component here. That means we are using the login component here. Element is that login. I think login is element equal to, yeah, what is that login? That login component we are rendering. Make sure that login is imported here. And when to open that login, when user clicks on this person, okay? That means I will make this as link. I will keep in another span. In that we will keep another link. And this link should use to link to where it is login. That means it will keep that clickable now. And I click on it, login will come. I just have a ready-made element, I can bring it. That means I can access and I can display what I want. Everything will work as it is. For example, if you remembered, so this I will use like BI, weather is there like BI. Some we have BI and BI clouds. Okay, BI clouds is there. Actually, this is weather. And what I will do here, I will create a route. And what is the route path? Route path is weather element. Element is equal to which element? Weather element. Weather component we already designed. And it should work when user clicks on these clouds. That means we will put a span and we will put a link and this link to which one? Weather. And you can see the clouds also clickable. I click on that, the weather will come here. That component will come here. In that component, I am entering city, so Hyderabad, and I click on search. It should get that and show. That means everything works as it is. Only the point is now you are in a perfect single page application. You stay in one place, you get everything what you want onto this screen. That's what actually route will do. That is what routing is doing. You can just access what you want. It is going to get them and display. This is only the first level of route. So there are so many things to understand. First, you have to try this. This is enough for today. First, you need to try this. This entire example I will give. This entire thing we designed in only one component. What is that component? App.what.js. Actually, it is not JSX because it is not our created. It is by default available. You can create your own also, no problem. So in this, we have to keep all this code. This is the code. Example is this. And one more you have to do. What we have to do is note in index.js set app as startup. Am I right? As a startup that you have to do. That means it will start with app and rest all will be working fine, right? This you need to try. If you can try this, now you have more to learn about routes that we'll see in next session. Tomorrow we'll do that, right? In tomorrow's session, tomorrow we will have normal session only, right? In tomorrow's session, you will understand about how to use the routes in more ways. That means more complex designs we will create now. That we'll see in next session. Okay, right? Yes, Navya, what is your doubt? Yes, Navya.